Namaste, welcome, and aloha. Welcome to Canto 10 of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, titled The Summum Bonum, the Highest Good. This is the longest and most cherished canto of the entire Bhagavatam, focusing entirely on the transcendental pastimes of Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Let us now look at the overview of Canto 10. Canto 10, titled The Summum Bonum, the highest good, is the crown jewel of the entire Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and one of the most celebrated spiritual texts in all of human history. Comprising 90 chapters and 3,936 verses. It is the longest and most beloved canto dedicated entirely to the transcendental pastimes, līlās of Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The canto opens with the miraculous circumstances of Krishna's birth in a prison cell in Mathura, the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, born at midnight to defeat the tyrant Kamsa. It then unfolds in two great movements. The first chapters, 1 to 45, covers Krishna's childhood and youth in Vrindavan, the butter thief, the slayer of demons, the lifter of Govardhan hill, and the dancer of the Rasa dance with the gopis. The second chapters, 46 to 90, covers his life in Mathura and Dwaraka, the killing of Kamsa, the establishment of Dwaraka, his marriages, his role in the Mahabharata, and his intimate friendship with Sudama Brahman. The canto concludes with a summary of Krishna's glories that declares him to be the source of all existence, the ultimate object of all love, and the supreme destination of all souls. It reveals the Supreme Personality of Godhead not as a distant, abstract entity, but as a loving, personal God who engages in intimate relationships with his devotees. Now let us look at the key themes. The primary themes of Canto 10 represent the pinnacle of Vedic spiritual philosophy. The canto reveals that the Supreme Absolute Truth is not merely an impersonal force or a distant creator, but a person, a beautiful, playful, loving person who steals butter, plays the flute, dances with the gopis, and embraces his poor Brahmana friend. This is the central revelation of the entire Bhagavatam. God is a person, and the highest relationship with him is love. The Rasa Leela, chapters 29 to 33, stands as the supreme expression of this love. The dance of Krishna with the gopis of Vrindavan is not a material romance, but the highest spiritual reality, representing the soul's complete absorption in divine love prema. The Damodara pastime, chapter 9, reveals the most astonishing truth. The Lord, who controls the entire universe, allowed himself to be bound by the love of Mother Yasoda. He comes under the control of his devotees. The Brahmara Gita chapter 47 presents the gopis' love in separation as the highest form of devotion, surpassing even the love of Brahma and Lakshmi. The story of Sudama, chapters 80 and 81, teaches that pure devotion without material desire is the greatest wealth. Throughout, the canto establishes that Krishna's pastimes are eternal, not historical events. They are eternally occurring in the spiritual world. Goloka Vrindavan, and hearing about them purifies the heart and awakens one's own dormant love for God. Now let us look at modern scientific parallel. Canto 10 presents profound parallels with cutting edge science and psychology. The Damodara pastime, where Mother Yashoda's rope is always 2 fingers too short to bind the infinite Lord, is a perfect metaphor for Gödel's incompleteness theorem. No finite system can fully contain or describe the infinite. Just as mathematics can never be both complete and consistent, material science can never fully capture the infinite absolute truth. The Rasalila, where Krishna multiplied himself to dance simultaneously with each gopi parallels the quantum superposition principle, the ability of a quantum system to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Brahma's prayers in chapter 14. In time, learned scientists might count all the atoms of the earth, but who could count the unlimited transcendental qualities of the Lord? Anticipate the modern recognition that consciousness and love are irreducible to physical measurements. The gopis, who meditated on Krishna and achieved liberation without physically going to him, parallels the neuroscience of mental simulation. The brain activates the same neural pathways, whether an experience is real or vividly imagined. Krishna's simultaneous presence in 16,108 palaces in Dwaraka resonates with the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics and the concept of non local consciousness. The entire canto affirms what modern physics is beginning to discover, that consciousness, love, and beauty are not epiphenomena of matter, but the very ground of reality. Now let us look at some practical application. Canto 10 offers the most direct and joyful path to spiritual transformation available in any scripture. The primary practice recommended is hearing Shravan, simply listening to the pastimes of Krishna with attention and love. The Bhagavatam promises that these narrations are so spiritually potent that even hearing them without full understanding purifies the heart and awakens love for God. The Damodara pastime teaches the most important spiritual lesson. God is not conquered by rituals, austerities, or philosophical arguments. He is conquered by love. The mother who loves her child unconditionally, the friend who gives without expecting anything in return, the devotee who remembers the Lord in every moment, these are the true yogis of Canto 10. The story of Sudama teaches that the Lord values the love behind an offering far more than its material worth. A handful of flat rice given with pure love is worth more than all the wealth of the universe. The gopis' example teaches that the highest spiritual practice is constant remembrance of the Lord, whether in joy or in separation, whether in his presence or in his absence. The mind fixed on Krishna is the mind in the highest state of yoga. Krishna's instruction to Arjuna at Kurukshetra reminds us that action performed with devotion and without attachment to results is the path to liberation. The practical message of Canto 10 is simple and revolutionary. Fall in love with God, and everything else will follow. For young people, the ultimate hero and friend. Canto 10 is the most accessible and captivating canto for young people, and perhaps the most important. Krishna is presented not as a distant deity, but as the most fascinating person who ever lived. A mischievous child who steals butter and hides from his mother, a fearless hero who defeats demons with his bare hands, a musician whose flute song stops the entire universe, a loyal friend who washes the feet of a poor Brahmana with his own hands. For young people searching for a role model, Krishna is the ultimate example of someone who is simultaneously fully human and fully divine, fully present in every relationship, fully committed to every duty, fully joyful in every moment. The Rasa Lila teaches that the deepest human longing, the longing for perfect love, is not a distraction from spiritual life, but its very goal. The story of Prahlada and Krishna's own childhood teach that spiritual consciousness is not for old age, it is a natural state of a pure heart. For young people overwhelmed by a world of competition and comparison, Canto 10 offers the most liberating truth. You are already loved unconditionally by the source of all existence. You don't need to earn it, you just need to remember it. For the older generation, the perfection of life. For the older generation, Canto 10 is the fulfillment of a lifetime of spiritual seeking. After the cosmological teachings of Cantos 2 and 3, the devotional philosophy of Cantos 4 and 7, the historical narratives of Cantos 8 and 9, Canto 10 arrives as the destination, the direct encounter with the Supreme Person in his most intimate and accessible form. The story of Sudama Brahmana speaks directly to those who have spent their lives in service and simplicity. Krishna rose from his seat, embraced his old friend, washed his feet with his own hands, and transformed his poverty into abundance, all because of pure love, not material achievement. The gopis love in separation. Their inability to forget Krishna, even for a moment, is the model for the devotee in the final stage of life. When the body weakens and the world recedes, the mind fixed on Krishna is the greatest wealth. Brahma's prayer. I would consider myself most fortunate to take birth as even a blade of grass in Vrindavan, reminds us that the highest aspiration is not escape from existence, but the privilege of serving the Lord in any capacity. Canto 10 assures the older generation a life lived with even a fraction of this love is a life well lived. The door to Vrindavan is always open. Now let us look at the high level Canto 10 structure. Canto 10 consists of 90 chapters and 3,936 verses. The chapters are organized as follows. Chapters 1 to 3, the advent of Lord Krishna, 164 verse. Chapters 4 to 11, his infancy and early childhood in Vrindavan, 336 verses. Chapters 12 to 20, his youth in Vrindavan, demon slaying pastimes, 410 verse. Chapters 21 to 35, his Rasa Laila and Gopi pastimes, 481 verse. Chapters 36 to 45, his departure from Vrindavan and Mathura pastimes, 434 verse. Chapters 46 to 60, Dwarka establishment and marriages, 755 verses. Chapters 61 to 75, battles, Rajasurya sacrifice, and heroic pastimes, 641 verses. Chapters 76 to 90, later pastimes, Sudama, and summary of glories, 715 verses. Thank you, Namaste, and Mahalo for joining me in this exploration of Canto 10, the Summum Bonum.